What is up, YouTube? It is me, John Avenger. I am back after a couple of days. Just wanted to take a little break. I'm doing something different now. Instead of doing a box office bomb, I'm doing my long-awaited. You got what you got what I asked for. Actually, on YouTube, I went on this guy's comment section and said I'm doing this, and that is my top 10 favorite superhero films. Now, remember, this is my top 10, not yours. So if there's films that you don't see on this list, it's not anything personal. It's just my selection of my favorite top 10 superhero films that I saw either in the theater or on DVD or VHS. It's the ones that are close to my heart. Others I do enjoy, but these are my top 10. There's a lot of films you're probably going to disagree with. You're probably going to say, oh, where's that? I'm going to explain in this video. It'll be a long one. It won't be 2 minutes, I promise that. But these are the films that I enjoy the most, that I have, and I can see them over and over again, and they never get tiring, and they're really, really fun. So bear with me. I'm going to take my time. I'm going to read it off this little list because I don't want you guys to, be bored. Anyway, so I don't, lose track of the numbering system. Anyway, number 10 is a movie that I saw when I was a kid. I saw this on VHS a lot of times. It has a nostalgic value for me. Probably a lot of people have never even seen this film because, they've seen the Nolan films more. But this one I love, and I'm not just a Marvel guy. I also love DC as well. I prefer Marvel, but I do like DC as well. And that is the 1966 film version of Batman with Adam West and Burt Ward. This is an awesome movie. It's got tons of features. I got this a long time ago in Best Buy for like $5 or $10. It was worth it. I loved this as a kid. It's a great superhero film because it's got the same 60s cheese of the TV show that I watched as a kid as well, and I love. The villains are great. Well, minus the girl that played Catwoman. I really wish Julie Newmar was in this movie. I really wish this movie, I would have seen it in the theater, but I was not even born yet. But it is a great superhero film for those who love the Adam West TV series. I wish the TV series was on DVD. It deserves better. It should be on Blu-ray or DVD by now. After the Batman films of Nolan came out already. But anyway, the action is just as campy as the TV series. It's a different take on Batman. This was before Schumacher and Nolan and Tim Burton's films. It definitely holds a place in my heart for being fun and just lighthearted and just, a good time. If you have not seen this, you're doing a disservice as a Batman fan. If you love Batman, give this a watch. You won't regret it. Okay, so that's number 10. Number 9 is one of the first superhero films I saw in the theater as a young adult. I loved it when I saw it in the theater. I know there's a new one coming out. I don't care about the sequel. The first one did nothing for me of that in the reboot. But this is the very first and the very successful Spider-Man. Yep, the first Spider-Man is my 9th favorite superhero film. This film was a blast when it came out. It was the very first Spider-Man movie in theaters. I was waiting years to see a Spider-Man movie since 1992 when I was a kid. I'm like, oh, when are they going to do a Spider-Man movie? And then in 2002 it happened, and I loved it in the theater. A lot of people complain about Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst, but for me, they were not the problem with this movie. There were some problems, some issues with the script and some of the costume decisions or whatever, but I still enjoy this film. It still holds up very well. I didn't give a damn about Amazing Spider-Man. I'm not seeing the sequel this year. With this movie, unlike Amazing Spider-Man, it did the origin faster. It was much more memorable action. The visuals were very good for the time, even back in 2002 standards. I like the villain more. Some of the actors are better than in the new film. The costume is better. It didn't bore me to tears. It wasn't freaking trying to be dark like The Dark Knight. Not every superhero needs that. This Spider-Man is lighthearted. He's funny. He's fun. He's a wisecracker. This movie was a step in the right direction. It's not perfect, but I really enjoy it. I think it's very, very good. It was successful for a reason, people. If we didn't have this, Dark Knight would have never been in theaters, or Avengers, or Man of Steel, or the Spider-Man reboot, or anything. This was the big step for the superhero genre, and it really, really, stood in my heart as one of the best. So, enough said. Okay, number 8 is one of the darker superhero films. This was one of the first R-rated, big budgeted superhero films that came out, and it is a superhero film, and it's pretty much the one that's got the ball rolling really well after after Schumacher killed the franchise, the Batman franchise with Batman and Robin, and the Phantom didn't do that well, but this one brought it back, and that is the first Blade. Still, to me, the best Blade film. I do like Blade 2, but I have a problem with some of the supporting cast, and I thought Blade should have been alone in that film again. I even like Blade Trinity, Sue Me. I think as a guilty pleasure, I really enjoy that film. I know a lot of people shit on it, but I like that. But this is the best Blade film. It's the very original. You got the best villain of the franchise, Stephen Dorff, as the lead vampire. There's tons of gore in this film. Wesley Snipes is at the top of his game here with his fight scenes. He didn't have the big ego he had later in the sequels. Chris Christopherson is good in this film. And Bush Wright, the girl that's in the film, she's really good. It's R-rated. It's fast paced. It's I think it's about 2 hours. I don't see the running time here. It's hard to find it on these old DVDs. Yeah, it says here 120 minutes. It goes by quick. It didn't slow down. It's very fast paced. It didn't drag on with stupid subplots or anything. It didn't have. Yes, some of the CGI is kind of wonky, but when Blade is killing people with that sword and they're turning into skeletons, it's freaking awesome. It's a comic book movie. It really is, man. And I even if they do a reboot of Blade, it's not going to be as good as this movie. I guarantee it. It's probably going to be PG-13. They're going to cut a lot of violence out, and they're not going to take a chance. If they could do this, they could do an R-rated Blade reboot in the future, but it won't be as good. And even a Deadpool movie, I would like to see that too in the future. So Blade gets its top spot on my list because it was badass, R-rated, and a lot of fun, and I miss movies like this. Okay, number 7 is one of the more recent Marvel films that came out in the last 10 years. This one really surprised me. It made me forget about the 2003 film that came out, which I hated. It was so freaking boring and dull. But this one really, really made use of the character's talents, and it really showed what he can do. And that is The Incredible Hulk on the Steelbook Blu-ray that I got last year. This is an incredible movie when it comes to superhero films. Well, Hulk is an anti-hero, but he's still a hero. And it was badass. Hulk smashed a lot more guys in this movie and did more destruction. The fight with the Abomination is still freaking awesome. The CG still looks really good. Edward Norton is the best Bruce Banner in film since Bill Bixby. I would say that. I like Mark Ruffalo, but Norton he owns it. I mean, his acting was just fantastic. I like Liv Tyler. She's so beautiful in this movie. Tim Roth's a good villain. It was fast paced. It didn't have an hour of exposition. No, once the Hulk gets on screen, the film doesn't stop. It just keeps going and going and going. And this movie deserves to be the film that they put leading up to Avengers, and it was a great time in the theater. I had fun watching this, and then seeing Tony Stark at the end of the film, in the end post-end credits, saying we're building a team, that got me amped up for Avengers. This is the Hulk that a lot of people should remember. Luke Ferrigno says Hulk smash, and that was a freaking crowd-pleasing moment at the end of the film. I love this movie. I'm glad I have it on Blu-ray. It looks great, sounds great, and it's an awesome superhero film. One of the best, no doubt. Okay, number 6 is one of the sequels to this long-running franchise. You could say that the first one, I like the first one. It definitely set the bar high for superhero films in the early 2000s. This is the sequel that I think is vastly superior. It's got a lot more action, more stuff dealing with Wolverine. You guys already know what it is. I bought this on New Year's last year, and that is X-Men 2, X-Men United. An awesome movie. Definitely one of the best sequels ever made. It can beat the crap out of the new Days of Future Past that's coming out. No, it's the day that the franchise can kiss my ass. This is a good sequel. You're not going to top this. The action in this is great. Nightcrawler's in this movie. He's not even in the next film. Wolverine is front and center. Stryker, the villain in that movie, is good also. And I love Deathstrike. Kelly Hu. She's very sexy. She has one of the best fights in the movie with Wolverine, like in the third act. It's fantastic. It's a fight that still holds up. A lot of the characters were here were cool. I liked Pyro and Iceman and Storm. They all had their moments. Magneto's good as always. Xavier's great. The movie's a very fast-paced film. It does have some silly moments in it, but I still really enjoy this sequel. I think it's very, 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 very good. It definitely lived up to the first film. The third film, it's a mixed bag. I think they could have done a lot better. I think if Bryan Singer had directed that, it would have been a lot better. But this is a good sequel. I give it props because, it entertained me when I saw this in the theater, and I saw it alone. Actually, no, I just saw it with my uncle. But it was a good time, really good time. They don't make sequels like this anymore. No shaky cam. No bad CGI, just fun with a capital F. Now, my top 5. What are my top 5 favorite superhero films of all time? Well, number 5 is going to be a shock to a lot of people. I did not put The Dark Knight or The Dark Knight Rises. I'm going to explain in a little while why I didn't put them. But this is a sequel I do enjoy. It's not 3 hours long. It's right to the point. It's darker than the first film. It's really, really intense. I saw this as a kid and it did not freak me out. And that is Batman Returns. A great sequel. Michael Keaton is still is badass as Batman. I love Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman. Danny DeVito did a good acting performance as the Penguin. It's really bloody. It delves deep into darkness like the way Batman should be, without making it too much exposition or anything. But it's a great sequel. I don't know why this film didn't do as well as the first film. The first film did better. But, this film is not a bad sequel. It's very, very fun. And I agree with this. Sensational, a funhouse, a comic, and crazy surprises. Yeah, there's a lot of things in this film I'm surprised they got away with a PG-13 rating, especially a lot of the blood scenes. Just really fun sequel. I love the score in this movie. It really got me invested in the film. It was a perfect way to start, do a follow-up to the first Batman movie. I really think that this film holds up very well. It's from 1992, and it holds up better than a lot of sequels that come out today, and that is no BS. I really think that this film will shine in the eyes of Batman fans. Really, really fun movie, really great sequel, and I saw this as a kid a lot. That's why it's in my top 5. It's nostalgic. I'm nostalgic about this film because it holds a special place in my heart. And I know Lunaria Claire likes this sequel. It's awesome. I love this movie. Okay, speaking of Batman again, number 4 is no surprise. This is the Batman film that got it all started on the big screen after, the Adam West series ended. I love this movie. I don't have as many problems with this film as I do with other films in the Batman franchise, like Batman and Robin. This is really, really great. It's a classic among the 80s films, and that is Batman, the 1989 film. This is a classic. I love this movie. I saw this as a kid along with Ghostbusters 2, and it deserved to make all the money that it did. I would have loved to have seen this in the theater when I was 4, but I was kind of young. I didn't go to the theater that much in the 80s. But, Jack Nicholson, he still owns it as the Joker. It's a classic Joker. I don't take anything away from Heath Ledger. He was a great Joker in The Dark Knight. But this film proved that you can make a fun, dark Batman movie and not make it 2.5 hours. This movie just did it all right. Tim Burton knew what he was doing. The writing is top notch. It's very adult. It's not a kid's film. It's very dark. Michael Keaton is the best Batman on live action that I've seen. I don't give anything away from Val Kilmer. I like him too in Batman Forever. George Clooney sucked. Christian Bale, he's there. He's the voice is the problem. And Ben Affleck, I'm gonna give him a chance. So I hope he can be as good as Michael Keaton. But Keaton owns this role. I love him as Batman. Vicky Vale, played by what's her face? Kim Basinger. I'm tired, so it's hard to remember names. She's awesome in this movie. Yes, she screams a lot, but she's a really good actress. She's still hot to this day. Robert Wuhl was pretty good as Alexander Knox. Pat Hingle as Commissioner Gordon. He's decent. He's not as good as Gary Oldman, but he's still pretty cool. Billy D. Williams. Love seeing him in this after Star Wars because I love that actor for playing Lando Calrissian in Empire and Jedi. Michael Gough, I miss him. Rest in peace. He was the best Alfred I've seen in a while. He's a classic Alfred. You know, in all the movies, you could tell he put his all into it. Jack Palance was a good side villain, you know, and he's basically only in the first half of the film, so he's not really in the film that much because, you know, Jack Nicholson steals the show. He steals this movie. He is just balls to the wall funny. The dark humor works. You know, the makeup looks really good. The visual effects in this movie still hold up. They don't look cheesy. They look really good. The Batmobile, the first time I saw that in this movie, I was in awe. I was like, oh my god, I gotta have that. I had the toy of it from this movie, of the Batmobile. It was a lot of fun to play with. Great movie. It spawned a great video game for the NES. I don't know what else to say about this movie. It's a classic. If it wasn't for this, we wouldn't have the Nolan films. I didn't put the Nolan films on my list because, you know, I think that they're really good films. They're well made. But there's a lot of things they could have cut out of those films. For example, in Dark Knight, there's a lot of subplots that could have been cut out. Dark Knight Rises, you could have taken out Matthew Modine, and you could have taken out Ra's al Ghul's daughter. They weren't needed. But in this movie, there's no stupid subplots that drag the movie down. Yeah, the Prince music is kind of like in your face, but I don't hate it. The score, I love the score in this movie. It's just triumphant, and it's just grand and spectacular. And just, it fits this movie. You know, this movie really did a lot of things right, and I love it for that. And it's the best Batman film I saw as a kid, and the best Batman movie I can ever think of, I can ever imagine. And, you know, with new Man of Steel coming out, I hope they do Batman justice, because I want him to be like this. I don't want him to be old and he doesn't do much and he's in the background. No, Batman is awesome. DC's finest superhero, in my opinion. Okay, now that I've given Batman, put him on a pedestal, now I'm going to give the stage to these three gems that I just love. Number 3 is another sequel that I think is fantastic. It still holds up very well. Amazing Spider-Man is not going to touch this. I guarantee it. This movie was a lot of fun seeing in the theater. Just a real fun popcorn movie that just wowed me. And that is Spider-Man 2. Yeah, what else can I say about Spider-Man 2? I love this movie. The best superhero movie I've ever seen. One of the best. Or it wouldn't be on this list. I think it's very funny. You know, the humor in it just works very well when it's there. The fact that Spidey was losing his powers in this movie raised the stakes more. You got a more threatening villain in Doc Ock. The visual effects deserve the Oscar that it won, you know, back in 2005. The cast is top notch in this film. The action sequences amaze me. I don't know how some people say this film is mediocre. I'm sorry, just it wowed me. It blew my wad when I first saw this in the theater. I know that's a tough image to stomach, but hey, I love Spider-Man in this movie. You know, this is just the way it should have been in the reboot. You know, I don't have a problem with Tobey Maguire. It's lighthearted. Yeah, there's some silly moments, but I laughed in the theater. Just, you know, a lot of fun in this movie. It didn't have to be that dark. You know, it's a film that's just, it's gonna live longer than the reboot. I guarantee it. I just love the way they did this film. You know, they did, the first film was good, but this one was even better. And the critics, you know, were right about this film, saying it's, you know, it's a marvel, and it is. I just wish, you know, 3 I like, but it didn't, you know, wow everybody. And I wish it had done, they had just, you know, taken their time with it and just, you know, improve on the little mistakes that they made. But this one is top notch. Really great superhero entertainment, fun movie. It will live forever in my heart. I just, you know that the reboot sequel is not going to touch this, not in a million years. And now my top 2. What are the top 2 superhero films that I enjoy? See, I'm not burnt out of superhero films. I can watch at least one good one every year and I'm satisfied. The only way I would get burnt out is if Captain America and Guardians of the Galaxy and Avengers 2 suck, and I highly doubt that's going to happen. I think they're going to be awesome. But hey, besides, speaking of Avengers, Next one, number 2, is my favorite Avenger. This guy is freaking awesome. I love his gadgets. I love the guy in the suit. Whether he's in or out of the suit, this guy just, he wows me. I saw this in the theater in 2008 with a big crowd. Definitely crowd pleasing. Definitely a great popcorn movie. Very entertaining. Very fun. Very energetic. Very colorful. Very intense. A great startup for the phase 1, and that is Iron Man. This movie rocks. I love the music in this movie, the AC/DC music. I love the cast for the most part. I think the visual effects are fantastic in this movie. I would say if it wasn't for Dark Knight, this movie would have been the biggest film of 2008. Mark my words. I do enjoy Dark Knight, but I love this better. Iron Man just steals the show in this movie. When you first see him in that suit, it's just breathtaking. I could not believe that this movie got made, and they did it right. They actually fulfilled fans' dreams of a good Iron Man movie, and this is it. I don't hate Iron Man 2 and 3. I never will, because I love the character. I can watch him in anything. But this is the best Iron Man film that we've got so far. And, you know, Robert Downey Jr. owns it. He is Iron Man. When you think Iron Man in film, he's Iron Man. He always will be Iron Man, no matter how many times. They could reboot Iron Man 40 times, and I'm going to say, oh, Robert Downey Jr.? Yeah, that's Tony Stark. That's what I think about when I think of a live-action Tony Stark. He's funny, he's witty, he's fun to watch. Really good acting performances in all 3 films and Avengers. Just, it was a great movie. And when I saw the ending, when I saw Nick Fury, oh, I'm here to talk about the Adventure Initiative, I just went ape. It was freaking awesome. And this movie still holds up. You know, if they do manage to do an Iron Man 4 or reboot or whatever, it's not going to top this one. This is how you do it right, and this movie rocked my socks off. And number 1, everybody knows what this is. This is my favorite superhero movie of all time. I can't wait for the sequel next year. I'm just pumped out of my mind. I have this poster right here. You guys know what it is. You guys know why my name is John Avenger at the end. You guys know. Because this movie just knocked me out of my seat. I was on my feet every time that something big happened in this movie. Even when the opening credits and the bam, the title screen right in my face. I was 12 years old in the theater again. And that is Marvel's The Avengers. What can I say about this movie that I haven't already gushed about in previous videos? I adore this movie. There is not a single thing wrong with this movie that I could find. It is my Ninja Turtles. It is my Star Wars when it comes to comic book movies. I saw this movie twice in the theater. The first time, I was in geek heaven. I just loved every frame of this movie. I had a few nitpicks, but it was nothing that made me hate the movie. You know, just the cast was perfect for this film. Just the characters just leapt off the comic books and right into the screen, and I was a little kid again. I was like, oh my god, you got a scene with Iron Man and Cap standing next to each other, and I just had a geekgasm. It was freaking amazing. Cap's fight with Loki in Germany was freaking awesome. It was short, but it was memorable. When you first see Thor and he goes onto the jet, you know, you're like, wow, oh my god, Thor is back on Earth. And then when he takes Loki and flies away to that park, and then he has that awesome fight with Iron Man, I was just in awe. People say, oh, the score is unmemorable. I'm sorry, the score blew me away in this movie. I remember it. Dun, 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 dun. Oh my god, that's just, I love Alan Silvestri's score. I love this movie. Everything about this movie, just I think about it and I have a smile on my face the whole time when I saw this in the theater. The beginning when you see Nick Fury and then you see Agent Hill and you see Coulson, who I love. Clark Gregg, you are freaking awesome. When you first see Hawkeye, when Loki comes out of the portal and he smiles and the audience went crazy because he's a great villain. You know, the action genre, if you want a great villain, get Tom Hiddleston to play a villain in your action movie. He is breathtaking. This guy's accent, his when he yells, he's intimidating. He just has this charisma that just leaps off the screen. He's amazing. I love Tom Hiddleston in this role as Loki. The end fight, the last 30 minutes of this movie, I just went ape. As soon as Hulk says, "That's one thing, Cap. I'm always angry. I just lost it." I was like, yeah. And then when he turned into the Hulk and smashed the Chitauri dragon thing, the metal robot, and then Iron Man shoots it with the missile and it explodes, and then the Chitauri are taking their masks off like the Predators, and then you see the Avengers circle. I was a kid again. I love that image. That is an image I'm gonna remember for the rest of my life, man. I just loved it. And everything that happened in the film, when Thor was striking the building with his hammer and then shooting it, it was awesome. And Iron Man was flying around and just blowing the shit out of everything. And then Hawkeye shooting from tall buildings, shooting his arrows and blowing the Chitauri up. And Black Widow being so badass. And I love Scarlett Johansson. I am in love with this girl. I'm glad she's gonna have a kid soon. I can't wait to see the baby. She's badass in this movie. She is Black Widow to me. When Cap first says to the Hulk, "Smash," I was like, yeah, and he was just bam and bam and bam and bam to the Chitauri in the building, then bam and bam. I just love that. That was freaking awesome. That's something that you could never find in an R-rated action movie today. It's the badassery of the Hulk, and just how awesome this movie was, and the way that it ended with the big A on the building, and you see Tony Stark and Pepper Potts at the end. And when the movie was over, I screamed my head off. I said, "This is the greatest experience of my life in the theater." I just had this adrenaline rush. And when I saw Thanos at the end with the Chitauri in space, I was like, "Oh my God! They just made this sequel's gonna be freaking epic." I know the sequel's gonna have Ultron, but the third one's gonna have Thanos, and I can't wait. And people say, some people on YouTube are like, "Oh, but it's such a long wait." Believe me, wait for Avengers 2. It is gonna be the best action movie of next year. I promise you. If you love the first movie, which I do, it is my favorite superhero film of all time. It brings me excitement that I just didn't get from a lot of movies last year or this year so far. The closest was the Lego movie, which I love. And it reminded me of Avengers as well, especially the final battle. This movie, I love it. Nothing will ever top this. Only the sequels will. But if the second one, I just hope that it's fun like this. Joss Whedon, you made a great film. This is your best film yet. I still got to see Serenity. But this movie, you knocked my freaking socks off, man. I was just in geek heaven. It was a cinematic nirvana, and I will never forget it as long as I live. I swear to you guys, this movie just changed who I was before I was on YouTube. I got my username thanks to this movie, and I love it so much. Love Avengers. Great freaking movie. So that's my top 10. I know I went a little bit of nerdy on you guys, but hey, when I talk about these movies, especially Avengers, I flip out. But I will talk to you guys later. See ya.